Before we talk about the actual event coming up this Saturday, explain what the Washington County Historical Society is. How long have you been around, and basically what you do to keep history alive in this area?
Well, that's an excellent question. The Washington Historical Society is 71 years old this year, and we were founded by Walter Lemke. And our goal is to, of course, preserve and tell the history of Washington County, not just Fayetteville, but the entire county, and to preserve it for future generations. We are blessed to be able to actually be the custodians of the headquarters house, which was the Judge Tebbett's home in Fayetteville. That's our headquarters, which we maintain a museum in. And also it serves as our offices. On the grounds, we also have Archibald Yale's law office that we also open for tours. And that building is probably the oldest building in Fayetteville, being built in 1834. Headquarters house itself was 1853. And then we also are the custodians of the Sarah Ridge House, which Sarah Ridge was the widow of Major Ridge. They came here as part of the Cherokee removal. And then after Major Ridge was killed, executed, however you want to look at it, Sarah moved back to Fayetteville and also helped to found a school for girls, both Cherokee and local girls that, they called it the female seminary. Sophia Sawyer, the person that started that. Well, at any rate, that we maintain those properties and is to help preserve the history of the county. And that's our mission, is just to make available information and try to get the word out that this incredible area we live in has been around for a very long time, and a lot of really interesting and different things have happened here.
And a lot of history to maintain and to keep up as well, too.
Yes, a whole lot of history.
Talk about the event this Saturday, the Battle of Fayetteville observance. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. A lot of things will be going on that day. What is the significance of this day coming up?
Okay, this is the Saturday closest to the actual anniversary of the battle. Now, we're commemorating the largest and the first Battle of Fayetteville. There were actually three and a siege later, but this is the first major battle fought in the town, the major battle, I should say. It was April 18th of 1863. It was fought between the Federal cavalry and some infantry that were headquartered at our headquarters house, which again then was known as the Tebbett's home. And so on the grounds of the Tebbett's home, we commemorate that. It was attacked by Confederates, and I'll come back to that later. But what we're planning to do is we will open with a presentation of the flags and a cannon volley. Of course, we're using a reenactor cannon and greatly reduced charges. It will not be as big of a sound as you would see at a reenactment like at Prairie Grove or Pea Ridge, but it will be at least to demonstrate the cannon. And our mayor will be doing a proclamation about this being the commemoration, the 159th year of the Battle of Fayetteville. And so then after that, we will have various educational programs going on the entire day, some related directly to the battle, some related to local people, some like we'll have musket demonstrations, the cannon demonstrations, we'll have period dance demonstrations. We have a man coming to do a Civil War medical program that is a retired EMT instructor, and it knows a great deal about Civil War medicine, not just the surgical techniques, but the medicines themselves that both armies used. We will have a display of period toys and games to where kids can see what children their age would have been doing at this time in history when the war was going on in Fayetteville. We'll have civilians. We will have some folks portraying specific people. And we're really focusing on the 1st Arkansas Cavalry this year. One of our members is a descendant of Sergeant Benjamin Ramey, who was Sergeant of Company B in the 1st Arkansas Federal Cavalry. This was a gentleman that lived out in the Elkins area. And they have his sword, his lantern, and they have actual documents that were written by the commander, Colonel Harrison, who commanded the entire garrison, and Albert Bishop, who was the direct commander of the Union Cavalry, the Federal Cavalry, to Sergeant Ramey to go guard the mills in Benton County for a period of so many days before he could return. And so those things are going to be on display for the first time in Headquarters House. Plus, we have our new diorama that was installed and that Cody Faber from Fort Smith actually built for us. And it depicts the 9 o'clock cavalry charge of the battle, which was the last big event in the battle before the Confederates withdrew. And we also have the painting that local artist Daniel Hoffbauer from Bella Vista, who has painted multiple paintings for Prairie Grove Battlefield and Pea Ridge Battlefield. He painted one for us that is basically depicting also that last cavalry charge. We have that, and the museum will be open. And then we also have a historic brass band concert at 11:30. I'm trying to think that's pretty much it. It's going to be a full day. And of course, Cody Faber is going to be our guest speaker.
Right.
He'll be speaking at 1 o'clock about the basically the 1st Arkansas Cavalry, about their participation in the battle. And then he'll be speaking about the diorama and what his inspirations were to create it the way that he did.
And at the end of the day, you'll be reading the names of those who were lost in the battle there at Fayetteville.
Yes, I'll be reading the names, and we'll be playing taps at that time to honor them and have a final volley. Interestingly enough, many of those casualties were local citizens. And because this battle was mainly Arkansans against Arkansans, even more Washington, Madison, Benton County men fighting each other on 2 different sides. So that's one of the major significances of this, is that there were Fayetteville residents fighting Fayetteville residents at that time for control of the city. And it makes it kind of heart-rending, quite honestly.
You know, it's interesting that this part of the country, this part of the state really was a battle line between Confederate and Union soldiers. And it seemed like it lasted for a number, one would take over, one would retreat and take over. It just seemed like it went back and forth quite a bit.
It did. Fayetteville actually changed hands 6 times. Yeah, and for the most of those times, our Headquarters House was literally used as the headquarters for both armies. That's why it's nicknamed Headquarters House. We don't just refer to it as the Judge Tebbet's home, because at first the Confederate Army came in and were there. They left, and the Federals came in and used it literally as headquarters. They left before the Battle of Pea Ridge. Confederates coming back and actually arresting Judge Tebbets for being a Northern sympathizer. Then after Pea Ridge, of course, he was freed because his nemesis, General Benjamin McCullough, was killed at the Battle of Pea Ridge. And so he was freed and came home from Fort Smith, and eventually moved his family north to the St. Louis area, San Francisco, back to St. Louis. But anyway, that's another story. But the federal garrison was established there then. And after the Battle of Fayetteville, the Confederates trying to retake, the federal garrison leaves Fayetteville. About a week later, the Confederates come back in for a few months, and then they decide it's too hard to hold. They leave, and the Federals come back in, and they establish the garrison in September of 1863, and they would stay throughout the war then. So it finally ended up completely in federal hands.
You know, you think of Dixon Street now and what's on Dixon Street. It seemed that was not ground zero, but close to where a lot of this was going on.
Well, it literally was. The corner of Dixon and College was referred to for a very long time as Bloody Corner, because the battle happened right there on that corner, with the Confederate cavalry charge coming up to where the stoplights are in front of the Washington County Courthouse, and turning and going back to the southeast across the courthouse grounds, because the Union men would have been largely in the Tebbets lawn, where the bank is on the corner now, and where First Baptist Church is on the corner. They stretched around that way to oppose the Confederates as they came up out of the Spring area. And it's just amazing. That was the outskirts of the town at that time, area, and now it's just off the square. It's off the old center of town. So it's hard to envision what all would have gone on there and what it would have been like.
I wish we could talk about this forever, because I'm such a history buff, but the actual event itself is from 10 to 4, ends at 4 with taps. You haven't been able to do this for the last couple of years in person because of COVID. That's got to be special, having this back in person again.
It is really, really special. The last 2 years we did videos. The first year we did one short video reading the names and taps. Last year, we put together, knowing that COVID was going to shut us down earlier. We did several videos which are going to be released through the Washington County Historical Society on our website and through our Facebook page, because there's no reason to not still use those videos. So those videos will be released on Friday, and then Saturday we'll have the in-person event. We're really, really excited about this. Right now we have about 60 volunteers lined up. About half of those will be in period attire and telling stories of the town and of the citizens, and just remembering what our ancestors that lived here really went through at that time.
It seems like that's the most special part about this, is everybody's going to be in period attire to actually be able to see what it was like back in that day.
I think that's a really special thing, because it brings it more to your reality, your senses, I guess is lack of way to put it. You can see it, you can hear, you can understand a little better what things might have been like for the folks in that period in our history.
All right, Battle of Fayetteville. The observance is this Saturday, 10 o'clock, put on by the Washington County Historical Society. Jim Spillers, thank you so much for joining us. Weather looks good, so hopefully it'll be okay for that. But best of luck with that event. I hope a lot of people come out to relive some of that history.
We do too. It's a free event, and we would really like to have a great audience to come for us to share with.